We are thieves, Ike. We are going to steal from the palace of Isu tonight. Obaino is well aware of the plan. Ike felt the world spin. He pushed Okeke's hand away, his voice trembling. No, no. I didn't know. Obaino, tell me this is a joke. Tell me. But Obaino hung his head, shamefaced. Ike, I'm sorry. I should have told you. But I knew you would never agree to come if you knew the truth. Once upon a time, in the beautiful village of Udi, there lived a young man named Ikemefuna and his little sister, Nwaka. Udi was a peaceful place, nestled between green rolling hills and a winding river that sparkled in the sun. Tall palm trees and mango trees grew around the small huts, and birds sang sweetly every morning. The fields were lush and fertile, and the people of Udi were kind and hardworking. In this pretty village, Ikemefuna and Nwaka shared a simple hut with a thatched roof and walls made of red mud clay. It was a small home, but it was full of love and laughter. Ikemefuna, who everyone fondly called Ike, was a strong and handsome young man of 28 years old. Years of farm work had made his arms tough and his back strong. He had warm brown eyes and a kind smile that made people trust him. He worked on people's farm to earn a little money or food, and he used what he earned to take care of his younger sister, Nwaka. His sister was 21 years old, a beautiful and gentle young woman with bright eyes and a smile that could light up the darkest night. Since their parents had passed away, Ike had become like a father and mother to Nwaka. He loved her dearly and did everything he could to make her happy and safe. Every day, as the sun rose over the green hills, Ike would take his farm tools and head out to work. Sometimes, he tended to his own small yam patch behind their hut, and other times, he went to help on the farms of other villagers for a small wage. Nwaka would sweep the compound, fetch water from the clear stream that flowed nearby, and cook porridge or yam for their breakfast. They did not have much, but they were content and grateful for what they had. Ike's best friend, Obina, often nicknamed Obaino by everyone, would join him in the fields. Obaino was around Ike's age and just as strong, but he had a very different personality. Where Ike was gentle and serious, Obaino was playful and mischievous. He had a habit of joking about everything, even serious matters. He spoke bluntly to people and sometimes even teased or bullied the younger boys in the village for fun. Ike did not like that side of Obaino and would often caution him, telling him to be kinder or more careful with his words. One afternoon, the two friends were weeding a neighbor's maize field together. Obaino flicked a cloud of dirt playfully at Ike. Obaino, focus on the work, Ike said calmly, wiping sweat from his forehead. He had been concentrating on pulling out the stubborn weeds by their roots. Obaino chuckled and stretched lazily. Ah, Ike, you work too hard. Life isn't only about work, he joked, tossing his hoe from one hand to the other. Ike gave him a small frown. We promised to finish weeding this plot by sundown. I don't want Mami Ifeoma to be disappointed. Obaino rolled his eyes in a teasing way. Ike, you worry like an old man. You are always so serious. He smiled and added, sometimes I think you are a weakling at heart, afraid to have a little fun. Ike sighed and shook his head. Wanting to do a good job doesn't make me a weakling, Obaino. It's important to keep our word. Obaino laughed and clapped Ike on the back. I'm only joking, my friend. You are as strong as an ox, stronger even, but you must learn to relax and enjoy life a bit. He couldn't help but smile a little at his friend's carefree attitude, even though he disagreed with it. Late one afternoon, as the two friends rested under a mango tree after a long day's work, Obaino turned to Ike with excitement in his eyes. Ike, Obaino began eagerly. I have something to tell you. There is a business venture I'm going to join with a couple of friends from the next village, Isu. I want you to come with me. Ike wiped his brow and looked at his friend curiously. A business venture? What kind of business is that? Obaino grinned. They have big farms over there in Isu. My friend said they can get us work on those farms and they pay really well, far more than what we earn here in Udi. Ike frowned thoughtfully. He was always careful about big promises. How do you know these friends, Obaino? Have you worked with them before? Obaino waved a hand dismissively. I grew up with one of them, Okeke. He moved to Isu last year. We have stayed in touch, and he told me about this opportunity. Don't worry, Don't worry so much. Think about it. With the money we earn, we can fix up your hut, buy more yams and rice, maybe even get Nwaka some new clothes. Ike's eyes widened a little at the thought. It was true that they struggled at times. A good harvest or a well-paying job could make a big difference. He imagined being able to buy his sister a beautiful dress or save money for emergencies. Still, Ike felt a bit unsure. It sounds promising, Obaino. But leaving home, I have never been to Isu. How long will this work take? Not too long, Obaino said lightly. Maybe a few weeks at most. We go, work hard, make good money, and come back. Easy. Ike was silent for a moment, gazing at the golden evening sky as the sun began to set. He always thought of Nwaka and her safety. Who would take care of her if he went away even for a few weeks? Could he trust Obaino's friends? Noticing his hesitation, Obaino patted Ike's shoulder. My friend, sometimes you have to take a chance. Don't you want to improve your life? Nwaka will be fine. Our neighbors will look out for her. And it's not like Isu is at the end of the world. It's just the next village. At last, Ike gave a small nod. Okay, alright, Obaino. I will think about it. Let me discuss it with Nwaka tonight, okay? Obaino beamed, pleased with Ike's answer. Excellent. Talk to her. I plan to leave the day after tomorrow. Okeke and Ifat, the other friend, will meet us on the road to Isu. We will travel together. As the sun dipped low, painting the sky orange and pink, Ike parted ways with Obaino and headed home, his mind buzzing with thoughts. That evening, in their little hut, Nwaka served Ike a simple dinner of boiled yams and vegetable stew. As they ate by the light of a small oil lamp, Ike cleared his throat and softly said, Nwaka, my sister, he began gently. I need to tell you something very important. Nwaka looked up from her bowl, sensing the serious tone in Ike's voice. What is it, Nwannem? Ike took a breath. Obaino has invited me to go with him to Isu village. He says there is some work for us on big farms there, and we could earn a lot of money. Nwaka's eyes widened with concern and surprise. Isu village? That's far. How long will you be gone? Maybe a few weeks, Ike answered. Obaino said it wouldn't be too long. I haven't decided yet, but I wanted to hear your thoughts. Nwaka set down her bowl, worry evident on her face. Ever since their parents passed away, she relied on Ike for guidance and safety. The thought of him leaving even for a short while made her anxious. Brother, you know I support you in everything. If this will help us, then it could be a good thing. But I'm afraid, oh Jonathan, I have never been without you here. Ike reached across and held her hand reassuringly. I know, Nwaka. I'm a little nervous too. But we have neighbors and friends here who will look after you while I'm gone. And with the money I earn, I can buy you nice things and maybe even save so we won't struggle so much. Nwaka bit her lip. She understood Ike's reasoning. He always wanted to provide for them. Just promise me you'll be careful, Ike. I have heard that sometimes people go to other villages and end up in trouble. I don't know Obaino's friends, but please, if you feel something isn't right, come back home. No amount of money is worth your safety. Ike nodded earnestly. I promise you, Nwanem, I'll be careful. I will come back as soon as I can. Don't worry. Uja Tunage. They finished their dinner quietly. That night, after Nwaka had gone to sleep, Ike lay on his mat, staring at the ceiling in the dim light. He thought about his parents and wished he could ask them what to do. He missed them every day. As he finally drifted into sleep, Ike had a strange and vivid dream. In the dream, he found himself standing on a narrow dirt road leading out of Udi, the very path one would take to go to Isu. The night was dark in his dream, and a soft white mist covered the ground. Suddenly, out of the mist appeared two familiar figures, his father and mother. They stood before him, their faces sad and concerned. His mother shook her head slowly and reached out as if to touch his shoulder. In the dream, Ike heard his father's voice as clear as day, warning, "My son, do not go on this journey. Danger awaits you." His mother's voice followed, gentle but urgent. "Stay in Udi, Ike Mefuna. Stay with your sister. Do not leave home. Inugongwam, stay." Ike opened his mouth to speak, but the figures of his parents started to fade into the mist. He tried to run toward them, but his legs felt heavy, as if they were stuck in thick mud. "Wait, please, don't go," he called out, but they vanished. And Ike was left alone on the dark road with only the echo of their warning in his ears. With a gasp, Ike awoke. He was sweating, and his heart was pounding in his chest. The first light of dawn was peeking through the small window of the hut. Ike sat up and rubbed his face. It was just a dream, he whispered to himself, but he could not shake the feeling of dread that lingered. Nwaka stared from her mat on the other side of the hut. "Ike, are you alright?" she asked sleepily, hearing him breathe hard. "Yes, I just had a bad dream, but Ademoma," he replied softly. Nwaka got up and came to sit beside him. In the early morning light, her concerned eyes searched his. "Do you want to talk about it?" Ike hesitated, then shook his head. "Nwanem, it's nothing, just a silly dream." But Nwaka had a sense that it was more. She gently put her hand on his shoulder. "Sometimes our elders say that our ancestors speak to us in dreams. Maybe it was Mama and Papa. Hmm? Or Hawa? At that, Ike looked at his sister in surprise. Why would you say that? Nwaka offered a sad smile. I also dream of them sometimes. When I have a hard decision or I'm scared, I dream of Mama or Papa giving me advice. What did you see, Ike? Talk to me. Ike sighed, knowing he couldn't hide anything from his sister. I saw them on the road to Isu. They told me not to go. They said danger was waiting for me. Nwaka's eyes grew wide. Then you must not go, she said immediately. If our parents are warning you, you should listen. Biko nwannem. Ike was quiet for a long moment. Part of him agreed with Nwaka. The dream had felt so real, and his parents' message was clear. But outside, he could hear a rooster crowing. Morning had come, and with it the day he was meant to leave. He thought of Obaino arriving, full of energy, ready to go. He thought of the money he might earn for Nwaka's sake. Before Ike could reply to Nwaka, there was a knock on their wooden door. A familiar voice called out, Ike, Nwaka, are you awake? It's me, Obaino. Nwaka quickly stood and opened the door. Obaino was there with a wide grin, a bundle slung over his shoulder. Ututu Oma, good morning, Nwaka, he said cheerfully, not noticing the worried look on Nwaka's face or Ike's troubled eyes. The sun is rising, and it's perfect day to start a journey. Ike slowly got to his feet. He still felt torn, the memory of the dream fresh in his mind. Obaino, I am not sure I should go anymore, he said quietly. I had a really bad dream last night. I feel like something might go wrong. Obaino burst into laughter. A dream? You want to abandon our opportunity because of a dream? He clapped Ike on the arm in a friendly way. My friend, you are worrying too much. Dreams are just dreams in here. Maybe you ate too much last night and had nightmares. Don't let that stop you. Think of everything we planned. The money, the better life. Nwaka stepped forward, wringing her hands. Obaino, if he doesn't feel right about it, maybe he should stay. Even I feel uneasy about this journey. But Obaino was determined. He put his arm around Ike's shoulders. Ike, do you really want to stay back and miss this chance? You have worked so hard for so little here in Udi. This is our chance to change that. And think of Nwaka. You could really help her with what you earn. Ike looked at his sister's worried face and then at Obaino's confident, smiling face. He felt caught in the middle. Finally, he took a deep breath. He decided that perhaps he was being foolish. After all, it was just a dream and maybe it meant nothing. Many people have strange dreams that never come true. You are right, Obaino, Ike said, trying to sound more sure than he felt. It was just a dream. I will go. Nwaka's eyes filled with tears. But she tried to be brave. She knew Ike had made up his mind. She fetched a small cloth bag and handed it to Ike. Inside were a few things she had prepared. Some roasted yams wrapped in leaves for him to eat on the way, and a gourd of water. I packed you some food, she said softly. Please be safe, nwannem. Ike took the bag and hugged his sister tightly. Thank you, Nwaka. I promise I will come back to you soon, safe and sound. Nwaka hugged him back and whispered, May the gods protect you, Ike. Please remember what Mama and Papa warned. Ike nodded. Although he was going, he silently promised himself to be very careful. I'll be back soon. Take care of yourself And don't worry too much. I'll miss you every day. Obaino, already eager to leave, gave a playful salute to Nwaka. Don't worry, Nwaka. I will take care of him, Inugo, he said with a grin. We'll be back before you know it with pocket full of money. Ego. With that, Ike and Obaino set off. Nwaka stood by their hut, watching as the two friends walked down the village path and out of sight. Her heart felt heavy, and she silently prayed that her brother would return safely. The morning sun climbed higher, and the village of Udi went about its day. But Nwaka remained at the edge of the compound for a long time, hoping she hadn't just said her final goodbye to her only brother. The journey to Isu village took most of the day. Ike and Obaino walked along a dusty path that wound through forest and crossed gentle streams. The sun climbed higher, and the day grew warm. They passed other travelers now and then, villagers carrying firewood on their heads or hunters returning from the bush with their dogs trotting by their side. Along the way, Ike tried to push away his worries. Obaino chatted happily about how nice Isu might be, imagining the new farms and all the work they would do. A few miles outside Udi, as planned, they met up with Obaino's friends from Isu. Two young men were waiting under a big baobab tree by the side of the road. One was tall and broad-shouldered, with a friendly smile. This was Okeke. The other was a bit shorter but lean and muscular, with sharp eyes that seemed to take in everything. This was Ifeatu. Obaino greeted them with excitement, exchanging handshakes and a hug. Ike, come meet my friends. This is Okeke, my childhood friend I told you about, and this is his cousin Ifeatu. Ike felt a little shy, but he greeted them politely, bowing his head slightly as was respectful. It's nice to meet you, Okeke and Ifeatu. Thank you for inviting me to join this work. Okeke smiled and patted Ike's arm. Any friend of Obaino's is a friend of ours. We are happy to have you along, Ike. No. Ifeatu gave a quick nod. Welcome, he simply said. His voice was quiet, but there was a certain edge to it that Ike noticed. Still, both men seemed friendly enough at first glance. After a short rest under the tree and a drink of water from their gourds, the four men continued on their way to Isu. They talked as they walked, mostly with Obaino and Okeke leading the conversation. Okeke asked about Udi, and Ike described their village with pride, how the river shone on the morning sun and how kind the people were. Obaino cracked jokes here and there, making everyone laugh, though sometimes Ike felt Ifeatu's laughter was a bit forced or hollow. By late afternoon, they arrived at Isu. Ike could immediately see that Isu was larger and busier than Udi. The village had many more huts and even some houses with mud walls that were painted with patterns. There was a lively market square at the center where traders were selling yams, clothes, pottery, and spices. The sounds of people bargaining and children playing filled the air. In the distance, on a small rise of land, Ike spotted what looked like a large compound with high walls, the palace of the king of Isu, he guessed. It was the first time Ike had ever seen a king's palace, even from afar, and he felt a mix of awe and nervousness. The building had a tall thatched roof and wooden pillars at the front, and colorful flags fluttered at its gates. Welcome to our humble home, Okeke said as they walked through the busy market streets. He led them to a quieter area on the edge of the village. There stood a hut where Okeke and Ifeatu lived. It was a modest hut, similar to Ike's back in Udi, and with a small outdoor cooking area. Chickens clucked around the yard, and a goat tied to a post bleated at them. Ifeatu pushed open the wooden door and they all stepped inside. The hut had only one room, but it was clean enough. Mats rolled up in a corner for sleeping, a small lantern on a stool, and some mats on the floor for sitting. "You both must be tired and hungry," said Okeke kindly. He motioned for Ike and Obaino to sit on the mats. "Feel at home. We have some food ready." Ifeatu brought out some food wrapped in leaves. It was roasted plantains and groundnuts. He also poured them cool water from a clay pot. Ike was grateful. He hadn't eaten much since morning, aside from the yam Nwaka packed. "Thank you, Dalo," Ike said, taking a piece of plantain. He still felt a little uneasy in this new place, but he tried to relax. Okeke and Ifeatu were being good hosts, and Obaino was completely at ease, joking and chatting. As they ate, Okeke said casually, "We will rest tonight and maybe tomorrow as well. The big job I mentioned will start soon. For now, just regain your strength, both of you." Obaino nodded eagerly. Of course, a day of rest before work never hurts. He leaned back, chewing happily. Ike, however, couldn't help but ask what exactly we will be doing on these farms. Clearing land, planting, harvesting. For a brief moment, Ike thought he saw Okeke and Ifeatu exchange a quick look, but then Okeke answered smoothly, "A bit of everything. There is a wealthy man who needs some extra hands on his farmland, and also some work around his compound. We will fill you in on the details when it's time. Don't worry." Ifeatu added with a small grin, "Yes, just enjoy your food and rest for now. Save your strength, oh?" His words were friendly, but there was something about the way he said, "save your strength," that sent tiny chill through Ike. Maybe it was just his imagination, Ike thought. He was in a new place after all, and maybe he was reading too much into things. He forced a smile and nodded. That evening, the four friends sat outside the hut for a while, talking in the cool breeze. The sun had set and the sky was full of bright stars, more than Ike could ever count. The air in Isu was warm and alive with the sounds of cricket. Ike listened as Okeke and Obaino told funny stories about when they were younger. For a little while, Ike laughed and felt more at ease, thinking perhaps the dream had indeed only been a meaningless nightmare. Eventually, they all went inside and lay down to sleep. Ike said a quiet prayer for safety and for his sister back home before closing his eyes. Little did he know that this would be the last peaceful night for a long time. Sometime deep in the night, long after the village of Isu had gone to sleep, Ike was jolted awake by a rough shake on his shoulder. He blinked in confusion and saw Okeke crouching over him in the darkness. "Ike, wake up," Okeke hissed urgently. Next to him, Ifeatu was already standing, a lantern in one hand and something long and metallic in the other. Ike sat up, still groggy. Obaino was rubbing his eyes awake too. It was the dead of night. The air was cool and quiet. Ike could hear crickets chirping outside the hut. "What's happening?" he mumbled. "Time to get ready. The work starts now," Ifeatu whispered, his face looking strange in the flickering lantern light. Ike noticed that Ifeatu was holding what looked like a machete. Okeke reached down and picked up two more items, leaning against the wall. Another machete and a long staff, which he handed to Obaino and to Ike. He took the two in his hand, feeling more confused by the second. It was not a farming hoe or cutlass for clearing bush. It was a weapon, a machete with a sharp, glinting blade. A sense of alarm crept into Ike's chest. "Why do we need this now?" he whispered. "We can't farm in the middle of the night. What kind of work is this, Kwano?" Obaino avoided Ike's eyes suddenly, looking nervous. Okeke frowned slightly and said in a low voice, "Obaino, Chirekwa, you mean you didn't explain to your friend what the real job is?" Obaino opened his mouth as if to speak, but no words came out. He looked at Ike with guilt on his face. Ifat let out a short, impatient sigh. Ha! Listen, Ike, he said. We didn't bring you here just to till soil. We have a different job tonight, something more profitable. We are going to pay a visit to the king's palace. Ike's heart skipped a beat. He gripped the machete tightly, not believing what he was hearing. The king's palace? In the middle of the night? His voice rose with panic. But oh, why? What are we doing there with weapons, eh? Okeke stepped forward and put a hand over Ike's mouth, cautioning him. Keep your voice down, he warned quietly. We are thieves, Ike. We are going to steal from the palace of Isu tonight. Obaino is well aware of the plan. Ike felt the world spin. He pushed Okeke's hand away, his voice trembling. No. I didn't know. Obaino, tell me this is a joke. Eh? Tell me. But Obaino hung his head, shamefaced. Ike, I'm sorry. I should have told you. But I knew you would never agree to come if you knew the truth. Ike's stomach turned to ice. His closest friend had deceived him. They hadn't come for honest farm work at all. They had come to commit a terrible crime. How could you? Ike whispered, feeling a sort of anger and betrayal. You lied to me. I'm not a thief. I can't do this. Ifatu brandished his own machete slightly, a hardened expression on his face. Well, you are in it now, whether you like it or not. You have seen our faces. You know our plan. It's too late to back out. Okeke nodded, his friendly demeanor gone cold. If you try to run or refuse, we can't just let you go and possibly alert anyone. It's simple, Ike. Either you join us tonight or... He paused and gave a chilling smile. We kill you and bury you right here, where no one will ever find you. Ike's blood went cold at those words. He realized with horror that Okeke and Ifatu were deadly serious. He glanced at Obaino, hoping his friend would intervene. But Obaino only managed to mumble, Please, Ike, just come with us. It will be fine. We'll get the money and leave quickly. Think of your sister. Think of everything we'll gain. Ike felt trapped. He was unarmed in a strange village, up against 3 desperate men in the dead of night. Even his own friend was siding with them. His mind raced, thinking of Nwaka. He had promised to come back to her. He didn't want to steal. His heart rebelled at the thought of hurting anyone or taking what wasn't his. But if he refused, he might never see Nwaka ever again. With a shaking voice, Ike finally said, I have no choice. I will go with you, but please, nobody should be hurt. I want no part in hurting innocent people. Okeke smiled. As long as they cooperate, nobody will be hurt, he said, then turned to the others. Now, quickly, we must move. There is no time. They tied dark cloth masks around their faces to hide their identities. Okeke handed Ike a piece of black cloth as well. Ike tied it over the top half of his face with trembling hands. His heart pounded so loudly, he thought it might burst. Outside, the village was silent and bathed in darkness, with only silvers of moonlight filtering through the clouds. Okeke led them behind some bushes near the hut where 4 horses were quietly tethered. Ike realized with a jolt that this had been prepared in advance. The men had planned this carefully. Get on, Ifatu ordered in a harsh whisper as he swiftly untied the horses. Ike had rarely ridden a horse, but tonight he was forced to. Awkwardly, he climbed onto the nearest horse's back. His hands were clammy as he gripped the reins. Obaino and Okeke mounted their horses, and Ifat swung onto the last one, balancing his gun, a long hunting rifle, across his back. Without another word, they set off at a gallop through a back route, avoiding the main path of the village. The only sounds were the thudding of hoofs on the earth and the night wind rushing in Ike's ears. Ike's heart thudded even faster. He prayed silently, "Please, let no one die tonight. Let this be over quickly." They approached the king's palace, which stood a small distance from the rest of the village, surrounded by a high wall and guarded by royal guards even at night. Ike could see the torches flickering at the gate and along the walls. There were indeed guards at the entrance, 2 men armed with spears. Okeke signaled for everyone to dismount at a hidden spot among some trees. They tied the horses to the trees and crept closer on foot. Ike's hands were shaking around the machete handle. He had never done anything like this in his life. His throat was dry, and he felt as if he might be sick from fear. Ifat reached into a small leather pouch at his side and brought out a handful of some kind of powder. He whispered, "Stand back," to the others. Ike watched with wide eyes as Ifat blew the powder from his palm into the air in the direction of the palace gate. The fine dust floated and drifted towards the unsuspecting guards. Within moments, Ike saw the guards start to sway on their feet. One guard yawned and slumped against the wall, sliding down as if he had suddenly fallen asleep. The other guard tried to rouse his partner in confusion, but then he too yawned widely, stumbled, and collapsed to the ground fast asleep. The powder had worked like magic. Ike stared in astonishment. He had heard of hunters or medicine men using special herbs to make people sleep, but he had never seen it until now. Ifat gave a tight-lipped smile. "Sleep well, gentlemen," he murmured to the unconscious guards. Okeke motioned for them to move quickly. They slipped through the gate. The guards had left it slightly open, which made it easy. Inside, the palace compound was quiet. Most people were asleep at this hour, and the only light came from a few windows of the palace building and the faint glow of the moon. The intruders moved like shadows. Ike's heart pounded so loudly he was sure it would wake the whole palace. He followed behind Obainu, forcing one foot in front of the other. His instincts screamed at him to turn and run, but he knew he couldn't. They reached the main door of the palace, a large wooden door carved with patterns. Okeke pushed it open gently. It wasn't locked. Perhaps the king felt secure with all his guards now sleeping outside. One by one, they stepped into the palace living room. It was a spacious hall lit by an oil lamp on a table. The walls were decorated with woven mats, and there were wooden chairs and a throne-like seat at one end. At a large carved table in the center, an elderly man, the king of Isu, sat poring over some scrolls and documents, likely doing some late-night reading or accounting. When the king looked up and saw 4 masked strangers armed with weapons in his living room, he froze in shock, then let out a scream of alarm, stumbling to his feet. "Guards! Guards!" he shouted instinctively. But the guards outside were fast asleep and did not hear his cries. Within seconds, the queen, a graceful woman in a night robe, came rushing in from a side door, and right behind her came a young woman in a long gown, Princess Obioma. The princess had been awakened by her father's shout. She was perhaps around 22 or 23 years old, with the radiant beauty of youth and kind, intelligent eyes. Ike recognized her from a distance. She was the same princess who had visited Udi years ago, though now she was grown, but in this moment, Ike was too filled with dread to think much about the old memory. "Who are you? What do you want?" the king demanded, trying to sound brave, though His voice trembled. He stepped protectively in front of his wife and daughter. Okeke stepped forward, pointing a machete toward the king. "Your money and your gold, your highness." Okeke spat out the last word sarcastically. "Bring out all the valuable you have, and nobody will get hurt." The queen clutched the princess, both women terrified. Princess Obioma's eyes were wide above the scarf she had hastily wrapped around her shoulders. The king shook his head and said, "We have little of value here, just our clothes and household items. The treasury of the kingdom isn't kept in the palace." "Lies," snapped Ifatu, moving swiftly to the side of the room. He had the hunting gun now raised and pointing directly at the king. "Every king has gold, and if it's not here, you must have riches of some sort. Jewelry, ivory, coins. Don't play games with us." The king raised his hands, trying to calm the situation. "Please, put down your weapons. If you are hungry or poor, we can talk this out. Don't hurt anyone. I swear, there is very little here for you to take." Obaino backed out. "Stop talking and start gathering whatever you have now." He too sounded nervous as he tried to sound menacing. Ike stood near the doorway, clutching his machete but holding it low. His heart was pounding painfully. This was exactly the kind of situation he had feared. He had to do something, but he was just one man and the others were dangerous. He decided he would not raise his weapon unless absolutely necessary. Deep inside, Ike wished he could just protect the family and stop this madness, but he felt helpless. Okeke thrust a sack at the king. "Fill this up, or we will search the palace ourselves after we deal with you." The threat in his voice was clear. At that moment, Ifatu's attention shifted to the young princess, who was pressed against her mother. Ike could see a cruel grin in Ifatu's eyes. Ifatu moved towards the woman, brandishing his gun. "Perhaps the good king needs motivation. How about I start with the princess here?" He sneered. Princess Obioma let out a frightened cry, and the queen shielded her with her arms. "No, please," the queen begged. "Leave her daughter alone, please." The king stepped forward desperately. "No, don't hurt her. Please, whatever you want, we'll give it to you. Just don't harm my family." Ike felt his chest tighten. This had gone too far. He couldn't let an innocent young woman be killed, not when he could do something. He remembered Nwaka's face and imagined if that were his sister being threatened. The thoughts made his blood run hot with anger and fear. Ifatu cocked the old hunting rifle, preparing to shoot. "Last chance, your highness," he said coldly, now aiming the gun at Princess Obioma's heart. "Give us everything of value, or you'll watch your daughter die first." "No," Ike shouted, stepping forward with his hands out. "Don't, please don't hurt her." All eyes turned to Ike. The king and queen looked surprised that one of the thieves was speaking out to protect their daughter. Okeke gave Ike a furious glare, and Obaino looked at Ike in panic, shaking his head as if to say, "Stop talking." "Shut up, Ike," Ifatu hissed angrily, finally calling Ike by name in front of the royals. "I'm in charge here, and I won't ask again." Seeing that the king had not moved to produce any treasure, and perhaps fearing the commotion would attract attention, Ifatu's finger tightened on the trigger. At that split second, Ike's body moved on its own. He saw Ifatu fire the gun with a loud bang, and bright flash exploding from the muzzle. Ike leaped forward with all his might and threw himself in front of Princess Obioma. It happened so fast. One moment, there was a deafening gunshot echoing in the hall. The next, searing pain tore through Ike's shoulder and chest as the bullet meant for the princess struck him instead. Ike felt like a hot iron had been driven into his body. The force knocked him backward, and he fell to the ground hard, dropping his machete with a clang. Princess Obioma screamed as the stranger in the black mask took the shot for her and collapsed at her feet. The queen gasped and held her daughter, trying to pull her back, but the princess broke free and knelt beside Ike. Ifatu, Okeke, and Obainu were stunned for a second. None of them had expected Ike to do that. "Ike, you are a fool!" Obainu cried out in shock and dismay. Blood was spreading through Ike's shirt from the wound. Ike coughed, feeling dizzy and faint. He had saved the princess, but at what cost? In the chaos, they had shouts from elsewhere in the palace. The noise had finally roused some servants or guards from further inside. Ifatu realized their time was up. "We have to go now," he yelled to the others. Okeke didn't need to be told twice. He bolted for the door. Obainu stood for a heartbeat longer, staring at his friend, Ike, lying on the floor. "Ike!" he whispered, regret flashing in his eyes. But when he saw shadows of approaching people down a corridor, fear took over. Obainu turned and fled with Okeke and Ifatu, disappearing into the night the way they came, leaving Ike behind. The king, recovering from the shock, rushed to his daughter and the fallen man. "Are you hurt?" he asked Princess Obioma, gently touching her face. "I'm fine, father." But Princess Obioma looked down at the masked man who had saved her. Ike was barely conscious, groaning in pain. She quickly pressed her hand over his wound to slow the bleeding. "We need to help him, father." The queen picked up the fallen lantern and brought it closer, illuminating Ike's face. The mask had slipped down around his neck when he fell. In the warm light, Princess Obioma saw Ike's face clearly for the first time and gasped softly. She knew that face, the kind eyes, the shape of his jaw. Though older now, it was undoubtedly the face of the young man who had saved her from drowning years ago. "Father, mother, I know him," Obioma exclaimed, tears in her eyes. "It's the young man from Udu village, the one I told you about, who saved me at the river 5 years ago. It's Ike Mefuna." The king's eyes widened in astonishment. Remember that incident now. His wife had taken Obioma to visit relatives in Udi, and the princess had almost drowned. A brave villager had rescued her, but left before they could properly reward her or thank him. Could this injured young man truly be the same person? Princess Obioma nodded frantically, pressing down on Ike's wound to stop the bleeding. "It's him. He saved my life then, and he saved me again tonight." Ike's eyes fluttered open slightly. He was in terrible pain, but he felt a soft hand against his shoulder and heard voices around him. He struggled to focus and saw the princess's face hovering around his, full of concern and alarm. In his fading mind, he recognized her too, the girl he had pulled from the river years ago. He managed a weak, reassuring smile, even as he winced. You are safe. That's what matters," he whispered, barely audible. Princess Obioma felt tears roll down her cheeks. "Stay still," she said gently. "You are going to be all right. Please hold on." The queen turned to the king urgently. "We must call the physician now, or he will bleed to death." The king, coming out of his astonishment, agreed at once. He shouted orders. "Guards, wake the physician now and secure the palace. There may be more of those thieves around." Some servants and guards, who were now staring and alarmed, hurried to obey. Runners were sent to fetch the palace physician in the dead of night. Princess Obioma stayed by Ike's side, refusing to leave him. She tore a stripe of cloth from her own shawl and, with her mother's help, pressed it firmly against Ike's wound to stanch the bleeding. Ike drifted in and out of consciousness, the world around him a blur of pain and dim light. But he felt gentle hands tending to him and heard the princess's voice speaking softly, telling him he would be okay. Within minutes, the palace physician arrived. a grey-haired man carrying a leather bag of medicinal herbs and instruments. He ordered Ike to be carried to a nearby chamber with a proper bed. Carefully, some guards lifted Ike and moved him, with the princess walking alongside, holding his hand to comfort him. All the while, Princess Obioma's words echoed in the king's ears. The man had twice saved his daughter's life. The king's feelings were conflicted. Ike had been among the thieves threatening his family, yet he sacrificed himself to protect Obioma. It was clear Ike was not like the others. The king exchanged a look with his wife, who also appeared concerned and thoughtful. In the palace small clinic chamber, the physician walked quickly by the lamplight. He cleaned the gunshot wound with water and herbs that stung, then carefully removed the bullets, which had luckily passed through Ike's shoulder without shattering the bone. Ike groaned and cried out during the procedure. Despite being only half conscious, Princess Obioma winced at Ike's pain, but held his hand and murmured soothing words, encouraging him to be strong.